with one of the hottest young preachers in the DMV area. He's a very humble young man. Just finished his studies at Virginia Union, getting his Master's of Divinity. Welcome, Reverend Nazell Austin.
Thank you. Thank you.
Man, it's good to have you, man.
How you doing,
Thank
brother?
you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Look, I remember you at the PNBC years back, and I'm just really proud of you, man. All of what's going on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, how'd you get started? When did you know that you were going to be a preacher?
I didn't know. It's something that I ran away from. When I was a child, back in the day, I say back in the day, like
Back in the
more.
day.
Right.
I thought you was like maybe 1 year out of high school.
Well, back then, we would have worship leaders and stuff, and for some reason, I would always be picked to be the fifth Sunday worship leader.
Right.
And
Youth Sunday.
always be.
Yeah, right.
And they would always say, "Oh, he's gonna be on fire. Oh, he's gonna be this." And,
Give it to Nazell. Something about that boy.
Yeah, that's all it was growing up. But the more I kind of saw what was going on behind the scenes, the more I kind of ran away from it. Then I joined the choir, and I got filled up in the choir. And I said, "Lord, no." And I remember it like it was yesterday. It was when I heard his voice. It was the second Sunday in December, year 2008. The senior choir, which is named by our founder, they sung "God Did It." Everything that happened to me, that was
Evelyn turned teenager.
Oh my gosh! And on that particular Sunday, he wrecked the house, and I was just on the floor crying, and I heard his voice so clear in my ear saying that he has chosen me, he has purposed me, and it's your time. But because I was so young, I kind of shied away from it because I didn't really see young preachers at that time. So
How old were you then?
Then I'm 25 now, so I had to be 15, 16.
Wow, that had to be kind of unnerving.
Yes. And
Very scary.
at that time, my dad, he serves in the deacons ministry at Mount Lebanon Baptist Church in Northwest. And, it was Pastor H. Lionel Edmonds who kind of nurtured me in that aspect and licensed me to preach the second Sunday in July in 2011. And then that's when I returned back to my home church, Antioch Baptist Church, Deanwood, and under our new leadership of Dr. Eric Baldwin. And so here I am now.
So once you heard the call to preach, it took 2 years for you to preach your initial sermon?
Yes.
Okay.
It took me, no. It took me about 4 years.
Okay, I got you.
4 years, yes. I went through the whole training process of that. And of course, when you tell a pastor that you received your call, and the first thing they go back and tell you is go back and pray. Go back and pray and make sure it's not you. And so I did that several times, and about the seventh time, he said, all right, well, let's get to work. And so I'm appreciative of Pastor Edmonds, who nurtured me and guided me in that aspect.
How's your life changed since then? I mean, once you preached your initial sermon, what did you do then?
Well, once I preached my initial sermon, I was 18. Yep, I had just turned 18 about 3 weeks prior to that, and headed off to college. And so it's like, all right, this new young preacher guy, freshman on the college campus.
What school?
Virginia Union.
Okay.
Yeah, and so nervous, but also because I didn't get a chance to have fun.
Right.
That was my next question.
Right, it's coming.
It's over.
And so I didn't have a chance to have fun. But so I used my freshman year
I understand.
to get my feet wet and to have some fun, but then to also get convicted.
Right.
That's not me.
If you're not careful, you get more to your feet.
That's right.
We'll keep it holy.
That's good. I got it.
So how do you balance that, man? Or how was that? Like I heard you say conviction, but being a young man who was obviously good looking and trying to preach, and you on a campus full of young women who are undoubtedly trying to get an education, but at the same time trying to have fun and seek attention.
Absolutely.
How do you balance that?
Absolutely.
Or how did you balance that?
So
Did you balance that? I know that's a lot.
So how I took care of that and or balanced that, I would say personally, at the age of 18, I had a strong prayer life, and one of the things that I had discovered is that people are they are attracted to your anointing. They are attracted to your gift, and not really who you are. And so there were times where females wanted me because they heard me sing, and or they saw the I guess the glory while I was preaching. That attracted them in so many ways. But I thank God for the spirit of discernment, which leaded me and guided me in which way I should go and who I should deal with, who I shouldn't deal with. And so I was very nurtured in that aspect when I first started ministry and dealing with that on the college campus.
Who are your mentors? I mean, who mentored you early, and who's mentoring you now?
So currently, earlier, my mentor, because the only person I knew at that time was Pastor H. Lionel Edmonds.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's how I started out. And then the pastor emeritus of Antioch, which was Pastor William H. Gibbs, before he retired. But currently, one who I look up to and admire is my pastor, Dr. Eric Baldwin. And then
big shout out, Pastor Baldwin.
Yes, Pastor Baldwin and Dr. Lisa M. Weir.
And she in Baltimore, right?
Yes. She's another one of my mentors who I thank God for every day. And so, yeah.
And you can, a lot of people call you to preach. I mean, how are you balancing that now with the personal life and church? Because you are also the church administrator, right? For lack of a better word.
Yeah. And so I'm still learning how to balance all of that. I've become more accustomed to making time for myself, because that's something that I didn't was not doing at first. Was making time for myself, but now I'm learning to make time out for myself. So typically I would use my Saturdays to just take time for myself and rest, because sometimes I get so busy doing so much that I just forget about me, and then my body gets tired, and then I'm weak on Sunday morning. And so that's how I kind of deal with that. As far as the preaching out, I try not to do too much, but my pastor, he always says, if they call you, go. If they call you, go, because you never know what door that might open for you.
Sure.
And
Right.
so in that regard, I am appreciative to my pastor in that regard.
Absolutely, because I know some preachers, they want everybody there.
That's right.
With them on Sunday.
That's right.
And I'll let you go a few times,
That's
but you
right.
need to be up here in this pulpit with me.
That's right.
On Sunday morning.
That's right.
So let's talk about it was some things I had in my head, but let's talk about sermon prep, and then I'll come back to whatever else I had. How do you prepare for sermons, and how do you prepare for these multiple sermons that you have to preach now during the week sometimes?
So typically I would take about 3 days to really read and to study and pray what it is that the Lord will have me to say. For some reason lately, I've been in this in this mode where I've been hearing God more than ever in my ear. And so I've kind of just got away with just preparing, just to be preparing, and but I'm very keen to His voice and to His ear. I stay at my feet to kind of listen to and hear what it is that I should say to the particular ministry that I'm going to. And so now I really honestly I pray. I pray, and wherever the Lord honestly leads me in that regard, that's where I go. And that's how I take it from there.
So you're able to zero in.
Yes. Yes.
What you kind of pinpoint.
Yes.
Let's talk about I would say the Millennial challenge in church right now. You're a millennial, and a lot of churches are struggling with just keeping millennials in their church, or either being appealing to millennials in the church. What do you see as something, if you can offer anything, as churches can do right now to kind of help, obviously with the next generation that's coming in?
So my big brother in ministry, the Reverend Michael Gaines. He said something like this. He said that millennials are leaving your church because they're looking at Jesus and they're looking at your church, right? Only to realize that the two don't look the same or they don't sound the same. And so I believe that I'm just going to speak from, because I'm a millennial.
Right.
They look for the being just being authentic. There we go.
Right.
Being authentic and real in your worship, and especially when it comes to the sermon, because nowadays our generation is very smart. They study, and then they get bored easily as well.
Right.
And so when it comes to the worship experience, even at Antioch, we try to do this 90-minute worship. Because at the end of the day, millennials, they want to go to brunch.
Sure.
And
and watch football. Right.
And so we try to make our worship authentic and the word relevant. And so personally, I believe that if a church can do that in a 90-minute time span, then I believe that's one of the greatest ways to draw millennials. And as well, and if the older generation, because for some reason there's a big gap, between the older generation and then the millennials of just not getting along. And I believe that if we can sit down at the table and just have some dialogue, some conversation in that aspect, and if the older generation can say, hey, I smoked weed when I was 20, or I did this when I was 20, so it's okay, but now let me help you get to where you need to be in that aspect. So I believe that if the two can sit down and dialogue, I believe that would be great, and another way of bridging the gap and bringing those millennials, those young adults back into the church.
So, and I know we gotta.
No, go ahead.
I guess this is my question. The Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're older, they won't depart from it. So my question is this then. The way, I guess, that gap you were talking about, is that the way we train them, or is that a lack of training?
I would say, in some regard, the lack of training. So now, I can say those maybe young adults who have children now, they don't bring their children to church, or even give them knowledge about what the church is.
Right.
And so now, then the question becomes: so how do we expect their children, to grow up in the church, or how do we expect them, to do what it is that our grandparents and our forefathers died, for us? And so I believe that that there is a lack of training in that regard.
You raised some very valid points. As I mentioned to you off the air, a friend of mine said that there was a period where there needed to have been some millennials at the decision-making table when folks were 40 and 45, but instead they weren't allowed to be in that decision-making table, and now the folks that are 40 are now 60 and 70, and the millennials have gone and done something else.
I agree.
I think another thing is that we just have to come to the realization that church is not is an option.
That's true.
It wasn't an option when I was growing up.
Now it's becoming an option.
It's an option, and it's not going away.
That's right.
And you can't preach it back into people. People are as far as their children going to church, they're weighing their participation against football, against cheerleading, against whatever club they're in, and that's not going away.
That's right.
I think we just have to adapt to the new surrounding and still be the community church.
That's right.
We still can be relevant. We still can have things, but we have to change from within.
That's right.
And realize that, at Mount Sinai, we still dressing down, man. The second Sunday in September.
Well, why is that though, Phil? Because
why is what?
What you said in terms of we have to make the adaptation, because like you said, we can still go to the club, we can still do all this kind of stuff. That stuff hasn't gone away. No. So why do we have to, granted, I think we all have to kind of do some type of adaptation. Right. But at the same time, what we're doing or what we want to do is kind of sort of taking a back seat. When you start talking about even the historic churches within you know, the communities that are you know dissipating or disappearing.
Right.
When we look at that kind of stuff, how do you know what are we doing wrong?
It's more of a realization
Okay.
than an adaptation. It's the realization that this is the current climate that we're in. We can't preach the old way back into this generation of people. So we have to find a new way to minister to them. And I know, and I hear your question, because a lot of people are asking, why do we have to change?
Right.
Well, in my estimation, we've already changed. You know, we changed the day we decided not to allow them to have a seat at the table. So we just basically have to now create a new normal. I ask the question, you know, the old millennial generation an apology? And because we're not going to, a lot of our churches cannot rectify the problem. All we can do is now move ahead, and those babies that they're now sending to church, they're dropping off to, we can get it right with them. And so it's, you know, it's a problem that everybody's addressing. Some people are saying, hey, you know, millennials ain't no different than anybody else. Well, that's fine. That's how you want to operate. That's fine. The proof will be in the pudding a little later down the road. So, you know, it's just a problem. I thank you so much for coming on this show.
Thank you for having me.
I just wish you much more success as you allow God to use you. You've definitely been a vessel. I got the chance to see you early, you know, and meet you early, and you've always been the same dude. I thought I had a lady for you, but she fell through.
That's all right. He's still getting his feet wet. You know, still getting his feet wet.
But you got somebody now. It's all good. Big shout out to your family, and Pastor Baldwin and all those who have played a role in getting you to where you are, man. And where you gonna be at next?
Yes, next Sunday, the fourth Sunday, I'll be at the Oak Grove Missionary Baptist Church in Nanjemoy, Maryland.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Yes.
And
then on the
Nanjemoy.
yes, Nanjemoy.
I've been down that way.
Yeah, it is.
Out of the way.
Pack your lunch.
And then on the fifth Sunday at 8 a.m., I'll be at the Alapattah Baptist Church.
Yeah.
At 10:45, I'll be at the Freedom Baptist Church, and then at 4 p.m. I'll be at a fellowship service in Rockville, Maryland.
Oh, you moving and shaking, brother.
Yeah, you doing your thing. God is you, and we do pray for you.
Thank you.
Big shout out to you, man. God bless you for being on the show.
God bless you. Thank you.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
For more information on how to become a guest on Real Talk with Phillip Carter, or for general inquiries, please email us at realtalkwithphillipcarter@yahoo.com. Tune in next Monday for another edition of Real Talk with Phillip Carter.